Number 1. Motel. This happened to me and my girlfriend when we were traveling across the country. We had to stay in various motels because, although she was okay with sleeping in our car, I was never able to do that. She could fall asleep with her head on the window at the drop of a hat, but I would be up all night trying my best to sleep. We didn't make reservations or anything like that. We just drove until we got tired and began looking for a motel with a vacancy. Maybe on the third night of our trip, we had a pretty creepy experience with the motel that we found. I could tell driving into it that I wasn't going to like it very much. We were in a pretty rural area, and it looked pretty run down. But I was exhausted and needed to get some sleep, so we decided to spend the night there. We got into our room and began getting ready to get some sleep. Suddenly, the phone began ringing. Figuring that it was the office, I picked it up and answered it. "Your wife's cute," the voice on the other end told me. "I can't wait until I'm sleeping in bed with her." I wanted to say something back, but whoever was on the other end hung up immediately. My girlfriend asked me what happened, and I explained it to her. Maybe I shouldn't have, because it frightened her. But if we were to get another call, I thought she should probably be prepared. Not that I was expecting anyone to call back. But about 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. I decided to answer it, thinking that it was likely the caller from before. And I was right. "Time's running out," the voice told me. "Soon, I will be in bed with your wife." Then he immediately hung up. We were very freaked out by that point. Gathering our stuff up, we decided to go check with the office. We told them about the calls, but it was obvious it wasn't coming from him. I had considered it, because he was the only one who should have known that we were in that room. But the voice wasn't even close to sounding like the other. We asked if he had any idea what was going on, and he said he had no idea. We asked him if we could change rooms. We figured that maybe someone just knew the number to that room and was giving us a hard time or something. So he put us into another room on the other side of the motel. We went to that room. At this point, I was very tired. I knew that it wouldn't take me long to fall asleep. However, I didn't get a chance to. We had only been in the room a few minutes before the phone began ringing again. My girlfriend and I both immediately got tense. I decided to answer the phone. "Changing rooms won't change the fact that I'll be sleeping with your wife," the voice on the other side of the phone said to me. Then, like all the previous times, the phone hung up. My girlfriend immediately knew what had happened. We talked about what we were going to do. I was exhausted, but now we were both on edge. We had no idea if this was a prank or if someone was actually going to do something. But we also knew that at that point, there was no way that we would get any sleep. Someone obviously knew the phone numbers in the rooms and was also watching us. That is the only way that they could have known that we had switched rooms. We decided that we needed to just check out and get back on the road. We would find another motel. We gathered our things again and then left the room. We both felt very conspicuous walking outside the room. We felt eyes on us, that whoever had called us was now watching us. So we decided to put our stuff in the car before going in and telling the clerk that we were going to check out. When we got to the car, however, we were stunned to see that all 4 of our tires had been slashed. So we just got more scared and immediately went to the clerk and asked him to call the police. We could have brushed off the phone calls as being a prank, even with the switching of rooms, but seeing the tires cut made it so more real. It really made us believe that someone had been watching us and was intent on hurting us. Unfortunately, the police couldn't do very much. There were a lot of guests in the motel, and they couldn't wake everyone up and question them. The most they could do was look around a little bit and make a report. Our car was taken to a mechanic, and we rode along with the police to there. It was a really long time before everything was taken care of. It was a very long time before I was able to get a good night's sleep. Number 2. Night Ride. This happened to me when I was 13 years old, but I still remember it as clearly as if it happened today. I had some uncles who were pretty close to me in terms of age. And a lot of times in the summer, if I went over to my grandma's house, we would go for rides in the back of a pickup truck. I especially loved doing this at night because it was very, very creepy. And back in those days, I was looking for anything that could creep me out to entertain me. This was a bit of an impromptu visit in midsummer. It was really hot outside, as I remember. This was back in the day when we had glass bottles of soda, not plastic ones. And I recall that mostly because we were stocked up on bottles of Mountain Dew. My two uncles decided at night that they wanted to go for a drive through the hills. My brother and my cousin were with us, and they wanted to do it too. So we loaded up in the pickup truck at nighttime. My uncles and my older brother were all in the cab. My cousin and I were in the bed of the truck. I enjoyed those rides a whole lot, and as I recall, they were always a bit scary. There were no lights on those country roads, so when it got dark, it really got dark. The only light that we had was from the headlights of the truck, and being in the bed of the truck, that didn't do us a whole lot of good. My cousin and I were having fun. We liked being scared, and we liked scaring each other. But on some level, the two of us were also expecting the older boys to try and do something to scare us. So we kept waiting for a possible scare to be on the way. But that was more in the back of our minds. I really wish that I could describe to you what it was like to be riding in the bed of the truck, like we were in the dark. It's the sort of thing that I miss in the world today. Everywhere we go, there are lights everywhere. It's really hard to get scared like it used to be. The darkness was so encompassing that it nearly felt like we were isolated. Another thing I can think of is that it felt as if we were driving through a tunnel made of trees and such. My cousin and I were doing our thing. We were talking about things that we thought might scare each other. These were old dirt roads, so my uncle was not driving the truck really fast. There were tons of twists and turns, especially the higher you got up into the hills. And that is sort of important for what eventually happened. The truck slowed down a little bit as it was about to go around a turn. We weren't going very fast to begin with, but the turn was pretty sharp, and we grabbed the sides of the truck to brace ourselves as we made the turn. I was very familiar with this sharp turn. My uncles had tried to scare us one time by telling us that cars have had accidents right on that turn. In fact, they said that some people have died going around the bend. I was sure that it was just their way of trying to scare us by making us think that we could die by going around the bend. My back was facing the inside of the road, and my hands bracing me on both sides. And that is when it happened. I felt something on my left wrist. I turned and looked at my arm, and was stunned by what it looked like I saw. For a very brief moment, it looked like a human hand was grabbing my wrist. So I pulled my arm away, but as I mentioned, it was only for a brief moment, and I easily pulled my arm away, and the truck was around the corner. However, I quickly moved to the opposite side of the truck, where my cousin was sitting. He was confused, but I explained to him what I had seen. I don't think he really believed me at first, but he knocked on the window and told my uncles to stop the truck. They did this, and we told them what had just happened. We took a flashlight and walked back over to the sharp turn. My uncle also took a rifle out that was kept behind the seat in the cab. But when we went back, we were unable to find anyone or anything. There was definitely no one anywhere near us. My uncle then tried to scare us a little bit by suggesting it was the hand of someone who had died while making the turn. And of course my cousin and I believed them. We got back in the truck and they took off again. Riding in the bed of that truck then was so terrifying Both my cousin and I wanted to be in the cab, but there wouldn't be any room for us. Whatever I had seen, and the story my uncles told us, well, combined, that scared the crap out of us. We were all too eager to get home. I really have no idea what I saw that night, but it was the scariest moment of my life. Number 3. Train Guy. Right on the outside of town, there was an old railroad track. At this time, I had lived in this town for about 10 years. I could count on my hands how many times I have actually seen a train moving on it. However, right after a bridge, there's another off track. I'm not really sure what you call it, but there were often train cars parked there for a really long period of time. The area around the tracks is heavily wooded. There is a road that goes through it and up a hill. There are a few houses up on the hill, but very spread apart. But I often take that road because it's a shortcut to get back home, because it leads through a field. This is how I knew about the train cars that are often parked there. I was walking there with a friend one day, and he decided that he wanted to take some pictures of the train cars. He was designing some sort of game, and felt that he needed pictures to model off of. I can't really explain that part, but I guess it's just important that we needed to get pictures of it. After taking pictures of some of the back cars, he wanted to walk to the ones in front. We had been taking pictures for a good 15 minutes at that point. However, when we started walking forward, we noticed something. Someone walked out from between two of the cars. Then he started walking in our direction. I can't completely explain why, but seeing the guy made us both feel very uncomfortable. There were rarely any people back in that area, so I asked him if we should just go. For some reason, the appearance of the guy, who was a bit far from us, was making him feel uneasy too, so we decided to just leave and come back at a later time. About a week later, he and I went on another walk. We decided to take the back road again. He wanted to take some more pictures. The same train was there, but that was not a surprise. They would sit there for months at a time. So we were going to try to go to the front of the train again and take those pictures of the front cars that we didn't get to last time. However, as we began walking in that direction, it happened again. A guy came out from between two of the cars, which could have been the exact ones from the first time. And once again, there was something very creepy about the whole thing. So my friend and I once again decided to leave. We talked about it for a while and came to a conclusion. There were some homeless people in our town, so we figured that for some reason he must have been living in between two of the cars. Perhaps he didn't want anyone snooping around in his area. So we decided that maybe we would just skip trying to get those pictures. We kept away from the train area for quite a while, but my friend is really stubborn, and he really wanted to get pictures of that train. So after a short period of time, we decided to go back to the train. My friend was taking pictures and was going further down the track than we had before. Since the man didn't come out, we figured that he was not around. So my friend started going between the cars to get all the pictures that he needed. It happened so quickly that it took me by total surprise. The man pounced out from behind one of the cars, yelling all sorts of gibberish, and he was holding what looked like a pocket knife in his hand, and he began running straight toward my buddy. My friend was closer to the guy than I was, and he fell over in surprise. The crazy man easily got to him and held him down. My friend was struggling to get up. Well, I have to admit, I almost ran in fear, but I knew I had to help my friend, so I ran over there and tried my best to pull the crazy man off him. Well, the man was a lot stronger than I would have thought, but with both mine and my buddy's strength, we were able to pull him off. The guy stumbled backward and fell down. I tried my best to pull my friend up. By the time we got him to his feet, the crazy guy was up too, and this was the first time I got a look at him. His eyes were chilling to me. I mean, they made Norman Bates look normal at the end of Psycho. He also had what looked like blood on his face. It was only then that I realized that he had actually bitten my friend. It was too much, and the two of us just took off running. He followed us, but fortunately, only as far as the end of the train. We were able to get out of there safely from that point. My friend had to go to the hospital. The police went and arrested the man who attacked us. They found tons of dead animals in the area where he was hiding, between the two cars. It looked like he had tried eating some of them. He went to jail for the attack. It was 3 years for aggravated assault, but the two of us are stuck with the memory. Hey y'all, Killer Orange Cat here. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please feel free to click the subscribe button and bell below, or click the icon of Ichigo the cat that will appear at the end of this closing. Leave me a comment, and share this video with someone you think might enjoy it. If you have an original story you'd like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please email it to the address included in the description. But most importantly, don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.